Good evening and welcome to Sunday Politics on Trust TV. I'm Iliyasu Gadu. Worsening insecurity sits at the center of tonight's program as it shapes the conversations we need to have as a people and a country. ISWAP fighters and bandits keep hitting communities across Kebbi, Niger, Zamfara, Borno and Kwara, taking school children and other residents. Some states now shut tertiary, secondary and basic schools to avoid fresh attacks. In Niger, the escape of 50 students from the St. Mary's School abduction adds new questions on already tense situation. As insecurity deepens across the northern states and governments try to fix gaps in its response, many are asking why the Arewa Consultative Forum is holding a fundraiser at this moment. Tonight, we speak with former Minister of Youth and Sports, Solomon Dalung, to break down these issues. Barrister Solomon Gadu, it's a pleasure to have you on this program. We appreciate your coming.
Thank you very much for finding me worthy of another invitation on a Sunday.
Sir, well, Barrister, I just want to ask, you seem to be in the combat mode, or I think, your gear today seems to me as if you are not happy with developments in the country and you are also trying to show yourself in that mood.
No, we see, revolutionary politicians and comrades generally, we have activated emergency mode. The color now is reflecting the mood of our mind and the mood of the nation, because the country is already in a state of emergency, but declared by the terrorists.
Okay, well. The recent development, just this few moments before we got into the studio, there were reports that 38 of the people abducted in Kwara State, in a worshiping center, have been rescued, and about 51 students of the Catholic school in Niger State have also escaped their captivity. So. And then, of course, there's another mixed story of, 5 soldiers killed in Bauchi just recently, just this evening. So it's a mixed bag of issues. Can you let us into what's happening? Because it seems like things are happening at a bewildering pace and we didn't know what really is the matter.
It is indeed unfortunate and regrettable that the giant of Africa today is in this state of quagmire. The security situation in Nigeria as it were, and as it stands today, places every Nigerian on existential threat. There is no Nigerian that is safe except the Nigerian that maybe is living in the fortified zones, or is a privileged Nigerian who has any good relationship with the government and has dozens of security surrounding him. But every other Nigerian says his last prayers almost every minute because he doesn't know what will happen next. The rampage by the terrorists is an assertion of the state of their readiness, that they are in no distant time ready to encircle the Nigerian community. That is from the operational attacks going on. Because if you look at how they've been moving, from Borno, they're moving to Kebbi, from Kebbi, they're moving to Niger, they're moving to Kwara. So, gradually, they'll take the other side of the ring, and I don't know what will happen to the country. But the news of the escape of the girls is consoling, but of course, it left the issue still unresolved because many are still in captivity.
Okay, Nigeria seems to be, at this moment, a cauldron of insecurity. Banditry here, kidnapping here, terrorist activities here, and as we said, it's encircling us all over. How did we get here, and how do we get out of it?
There are more terrorists and terrorist financiers, sponsors, enablers apologies, beneficiaries in the town more than those that are in the bush. That's the state of the nation as it were. And we got here simply by having a political system that gradually degenerated into kakistocracy. Kakistocracy is a government of idiots and unveiled persons, a category of people that thinks more about themselves and their immediate families than even the concept of the state. So they redefine the concept of the state to their immediate themselves. Now the failure of leadership, gradual failure of leadership, and the destruction of the political system place democracy now in the jeopardy we found ourselves. So today, if you look at what happened in 1999 till date, this gradual erosion started with the personification of leadership. So a leader that is elected to be a servant of the people gradually emerge as a lot to be worshipped by the people. So the concept, oh, he is the leader of the party. From the leader of the party now, he's a leader of the Nigerian people. So every governor in the subnational government is seen as a demigod. And that's why sometimes when you go to greet the governors, you are expected to kneel down like you are greeting your primary school headmaster.
But let me just take you on there. Moments ago, you seemed to say that they are enablers of this terrorism, this insecurity, and they live more in the town, in the urban areas than in the bush.
Of course.
We've been hearing these allegations. We were told that names of those people who have been enabling these acts of terrorism, banditry, and all that are available. Why can't you have it? Can you just?
We have moved beyond allegations.
Let's have the names.
Nigerians are hypocritical sect of community. What will we end that? The United Arab Emirates started the issue. They investigated it thoroughly and handed over to the Nigerian state the names of sponsors and financiers, enablers of terrorism in Nigeria, which from their summary suggested that there were even elected political leaders and people in government that were on the list. We had a promise from President Buhari's government that the list was going to be released. He has gone the great beyond now. Maybe the list will be released in heaven.
But you were a member of that
I will
government.
I will get to that. In fact, when this happened, I was already out of government, but I was part of Buhari's government, so I'm not going to excuse myself.
That's good.
Then, the Chadian head of state, General Chani, also through Niger, through the bombshell. In his own case, they arrested terrorists in the Sahel. They interrogated them and extracted damaging intelligence. They sent for Nigeria. Nigeria sent the former Director General of NIA. He went to Niger, had engagement with the terrorists. And at the end of the day, the Nigerian head of state said he had a dossier of the enablers, financial sponsors, and again reaffirmed the institution by saying there were people in government, politicians, businessmen on the list. We didn't hear anything about it from the Nigerian government. They promised they were going to publish it. The immediate past Chief of Defense Staff, General Musa, not too long before he was retired, said the same thing, that very soon we will release the list of these terrorist sponsors, financiers, and all this. And still, we are yet to have the list. But each time they make such pronouncement, the terrorists are emboldened and they escalate the pattern of the attack. So it does suggest to me this is my opinion now, that the terrorists themselves are more comfortable because they have so much of their partners within the political space and system. And this is not something we can disbelieve easily, because when you look at the negotiation going between state government and the bandits, the one that escalated my BP and it has not dropped till now was the one that took place in Katsina, where a bandit kingpin killed an assistant commissioner in Dusema, took his uniform, and when they invited him for the so-called, the ignoble peace deal, he came with the uniform of the assistant commissioner of police. Policemen whom he was the assistant commissioner commanding them were there. Soldiers were there. The so-called Nigerian politicians who suddenly turned negotiators were there. And the bandit was celebrated. Summarizing this, the take here will be the conclusion I made, that there are more bandit partners.
But then a recent statement emanating from the government through the SGF, the Secretary of Government of the Federation, says that it was as a result of the threat by President Trump of America to intervene militarily in Nigeria, that has led to the spike recently of terrorist activities. Brigadier General was killed, more abduction of school pupils, and even leading to the government closing down some schools in the north, bringing to about 200 schools now in the north that have been closed now. Now, what do you say to that?
I was so ashamed of myself when I listened to the Secretary to the Government. The Secretary to the Government of Federation, he's an experienced person. 2-term governor, 2-term senator, and now Secretary to Government. And when he was governor of Benue State, he handled conflict, because there was conflict between Benue and neighboring state, and he was able to manage it well. I think the problem we have currently is that this initiation with this cap that has ring, once you wear that cap, your brain also will evaporate. Because Daniel Bwala said this before he joined them. He said, once you join APC, your brain will evaporate. So I think maybe that is...
Are you speaking about yourself too? Because you are an APC.
I'm a founding, I didn't join.
You are...
Bwala said, once you join. So it means we were the men, people who concocted the real thing, which is APC, that when you join, your brain will evaporate. So he said that. Otherwise, how would the Secretary to Government of the Federation of a country like Nigeria, with all the brains we'll have, with all the brilliant people who have made this country great, there's nowhere a Nigerian goes that is not respected because of his intellectual acumen, that he will make such a statement, that the statement from President Donald Trump is what has speckled. Okay, if Donald Trump has made such statement and the bandits have intensified their attack, what is their own effort of tackling the insurgency? What have they done?
But the soldiers, the armed forces said, look, their own explanation was that, look, it's because of the successes we have achieved in the recently that have now sort of made the, correspondingly, rather made the terrorists or the bandits to now spike their activities. That's with the recent, kidnappings, the killings of soldiers, the ambushing in all these areas you've mentioned.
No, we have more stories of the success of the terrorists than that of the military. And the military should not assume that we are still living in the Magumpak age. We are living in a sophisticated, information-driven technology where information is available at the fingertip. So we have more successes of the terrorists. The one that is so painful to me, which if they have reacted we should have also known is the killing of one of the beautiful and gallant patriots, Brigadier General Musa Uba, who, if you look at how he died, you will salute, because he was a soldier. He survived an ambush, maneuvered in an ambush which many lost their lives, and as a result of that, got detached to his perimeter security, survived in the bush for many days, just to be captured when he got connected to the system. There are so many questions about the killing of Brigadier General Uba that had remained unanswered. A brigadier general, a brigade commander, commands 5 battalions and command a minimum of 3,000 and a maximum of 5,000 troops. He doesn't move until it is clear. And his movement is backed up with certain security assets involving armored and air surveillance. Were all these assets deployed when General Uba advanced in a hot war theater where Damboa is neighborhood to where ISWAP were? So the military, we have been praying for them.
Okay, let me link that up with the statement by the Kebbi State governor, in which he said the abduction of the girls at that secondary school was enabled when suddenly the military withdrew, inexplicably. And then, of course, he now laid allegations that there are saboteurs, there are probably saboteurs within the military setup that actually enabled these terrorists. And this accusation has been going on for quite some time now. Can you put the nexus in all of this?
The rogue elements have infiltrated our security system for too long. Even the security system is aware. But I think their inability to deal with it is what has even made them vulnerable. And we're likely going to have more great officers falling, because the rogue elements are part and parcel of the partnership of terrorism, beneficiaries. So it's a network they belong to. So for them, terrorism is gain. Nigeria is lost. And patriotic elements within the security system, the military, are targets. So they are targets within the system and targets outside the system. What the Kebbi State governor has said has been the pattern. Before the abduction of Dachi girls, the military that were deployed to that school left about an hour before the terrorists attacked and kidnapped those girls. So it's a familiar pattern that we should be ashamed of discussing it, because we should have been able to now move ahead of it. But you see, it's still happening. So the unanswered question, which the military would have taken it as part of their successes, to explain to Nigerians why would a deployment evaporate operationally within 30 minutes and 25 young girls between the ages of 12 to 16 will be kidnapped. The principal and one other person were killed and marched into the bush.
Let me get your perspective on this. There are a school of thought that believes that some of these kidnappings of young schoolgirls, young people, and secondary school, tertiary institutions, is actually tied to the fact that there's a threat coming from President Trump of America, and that these kidnappings, which will spike, from the look of things, is also intended to make these kidnapped school children as hostages, as against any possible attack that will come from the Americans.
It's a defeatist line of thought of very lazy minds. Even if the terrorists kidnap the whole girls in Nigeria, Americans have the capacity to rescue the girls and destroy the terrorists. An American was kidnapped in Nigeria. America moved into Nigeria, rescued their citizens. We were here looking like monkungs in Nigeria until they finished the operation before we knew. So it is not an explanation at all. The Americans, look, even if the whole girls in Nigeria are kidnapped, the Americans will conduct an operation, rescue those girls, and destroy the terrorist network. So all those advancing the line of thoughts are either lazy minds or they are terrorist apologists who are afraid of Trump coming. For me, I don't want Trump to come, except the Nigerian government will deal with the situation decisively. And the military or the Nigerian state that is offering this explanation, how much have they done since this thing started? For all these 7 days, it is news about the success of the terrorists. So the coming of Donald Trump can only be stopped but by decisive dealing with the terrorists. And if the Nigerian government wants us to join in trying to save Nigerian sovereignty, let them publish the names of terrorist sponsors and enabler. The first thing, once they do that, we will say, oh, Nigeria is now getting serious. We now know the terrorists, the one in the government, the one in the business sector, the one in the church, the one in the mosque, and the one in the bush. Then we will come out and tell Nigerians, look, the government now is looking serious.
But President Tinubu just said it when he made changes in the military hierarchy just recently. He gave marching orders to the military hierarchy to go and to redouble their efforts. And also, just recently, I think a couple of days, that he said he shelved his trip to South Africa for the G20 summit to enable him sit down in Nigeria and take charge of these situations. So can you say the government, can you truly say the government has not done anything at all?
No, I think I should congratulate President Tinubu for deceiving us again. I've been in government. Throughout President Buhari's time, each time there was attack, government would say, we condemn, we were on top of the situation, we will deal. The moment the president makes this statement, the terrorists become emboldened and attack more. So what has spiked up this current attack is the statement of government that President Tinubu has said, oh, I have changed the service chiefs, we want to rejig. Oh, at this very serious statement, do we need to know that one? When the terrorists are planning to kidnap and kill generals, do they announce it? Why would a serious government trying to deal with an existential threat like this go on the propaganda of telling Nigerians, making us to think that we are safe so that we will not loosen up and the terrorists will be kidnapping us? When the Americans came here and rescued their citizens, did you hear anything from America? Until when they finish. A very serious government will not be discussing security issues on the television.
So in effect, what you are saying is that, you do agree with the assertion or allegation that the terrorists are all sort of like testing the resolve of government. Since the President Tinubu has come to say, I've given you marching orders and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, are you in effect agreeing to the fact that the terrorists are testing the resolve of the government?
I'm vehemently disagreeing. The terrorists are not testing. The terrorists are ahead. Somebody who is ahead of you cannot test your resolve. Let us not pretend. I mean, you look at the way they are kidnapping with impunity, recklessly. We don't know what will happen tomorrow. They have moved from Niger and then Bauchi. And we don't know where they will go. So is that testing of resolve? No. They are setting the agenda for the Nigerian state to follow like a zombie. The terrorists are ahead of us. But let me tell you, the Nigerian military that I know today, the problem is lack of a political will. Even if you are going to give the Nigerian soldiers sticks and you ask them to flush this idiot with their weapon, I swear, the Nigerian soldiers in less than 2 weeks, they will clear them off.
Can you break down what this absence of political, what does it mean? What really does it mean? People say political will, lack of political. What really does it mean?
A political will is the determination of a leader to deal radically with an existential threat, even if it will be at the expense of his own survival.
And you think that is lacking?
Completely. Completely. Listen to what Najatu said. You see, Najatu said something. I confronted the president before he was elected and asked him, what do you have on the table for the North? He said he has nothing. What of insecurity? I don't want to venture into it so that I will not be killed. A leader must put his life on the line before that of his country. If I, Solomon Selkab Dalung, today will be the president of Nigeria, I will say my last prayers when I will say, so help me God, because I'm not sure I'm going to come back alive. Because what it requires for me to be a president of Nigeria means selfless sacrifice. And selfless sacrifice means your own life must first be declared worthless. I'm not going to buy any aircraft, no. I may even, because Nigerians now are living at the poverty level. So my executive car may be something lower that will represent the situation.
But on that, I mean, allied to that, there was, with all these issues taking place in the North, you know, kidnappings, banditry and all that, and virtual state of insecurity, and almost like a season of anomie in the North, the ACF, that's the apex organization of northern interests in this country, just recently held a fundraiser. Is that what they should be doing at this point in time when some of the issues, existential issues in the North are happening? You were there, were you not?
I went to Kaduna on a protest because we lawyers, if you are invited or a court serves you with a process which is defective, you don't sit back. You go to court and tell the judge, I'm here but on protest. And you draw the attention of the judge. So I went to Kaduna, and of course I spoke with journalists and said, look, we had no business to have been gathering here at all. Because the North, which the social cultural organization purported to be representing, the North is facing an existential threat. We have so many of our daughters kidnapped and they are in the bush under the sun without food, facing threats from reptiles, etc. So even if we had planned this celebration, this development called for suspension of it. And that we would, even if we would have gathered, it would have been converted into a meeting that we will be talking and tackling these issues and coming up with marching orders to the government of Nigeria that, look, if we are not going to get this, if this is not going to be done, then the North will be forced to reconsider. But the North, when the ACF went and gathered and they were raising funds, I also advised them that all those monies they collected there, they should move to the bush and go and pay ransom. Move with that money immediately, because the women, the young ladies in the bush can give birth to a complete nation. In Kwara, the statistics, which we know officially, they said is down 318, 25. In Kebbi, the women, they were kidnapped along that axis again. So there are so many women.
But did you communicate these concerns of yours to the people that organized the ACF meeting and to tell them this in strong, inalienable,
The best way I could have done that is if I was given the opportunity to speak. But I always tell people that no Nigerians preempt what I can do. I'm somebody that, even if you invite me now to a church and there is injustice there, the pastors will only be watching me and not watching another person, because I will be the only problem there. Because given the opportunity, I will always say my mind. So I didn't have the opportunity to speak. But I addressed press conferences, and the news are everywhere. And I let my mind bear. and the leaders of ACF had me, and they had me loud. Northerners have had me, Nigerians have had me, that they had no business to have continued with that fundraising. They had no business, because our daughters are in captivity. If it were our direct children that were in captivity, we would have been in Kaduna.
Okay, let's. You are from Plateau State, which is actually the center of the allegations of genocide. You are a prominent citizen of the state. You are a stakeholder of the state. Can you really tell us what's happening? Is there genocide in Plateau State, or what? Or other people say there's genocide. Others say no, it's killings of, back and forth killings. You are a Plateau citizen, a senior citizen of that state, and a prominent one at that. What can you tell us about the true situation of the situation in Plateau?
I think you are trying to dodge the real name. That is Christian genocide. That's
okay, what, Christian genocide.
Yes, that is how.
Yes.
That's even what Trump said. Now, let me lay a legal foundation of what is genocide. Genocide in international law is the targeting of a population and mass extermination of some for who they are. That's genocide. And the legal elements of genocide include mass extermination, use of economic measures against a population with the intention of exterminating them because of who they are, and then even deliberate government policy of denying them social amenities in order to achieve the same purpose. These are the elements of genocide. So we come back to our question: is there Christian genocide in Nigeria? Yes, there is Christian genocide. There is targeted killings of Christians by jihadist terrorists. Targeted. They are doing that. It exists. Now, why are they attacking them? They are attacking them because they are Christians. The second question is it only Christians that are killed in Nigeria? The answer is no. The Muslims in Nigeria are also killed in their numbers. They have also been targeted in even their worship places, just like the Christians, and killed. I remember an instance in Zamfara where the Muslims were in the mosque and terrorists rounded them up. The terrorists were shooting and saying, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And the victims who were caught up by the bullets and have not died were also shouting, Allahu Akbar. That is genocide by jihadi Muslims against the Muslim community. Why are they killing them? They are killing them because ideologically those Muslims do not share their belief. There is also genocide against those who are not Muslims, not Christians, going on in Nigeria. So in my own summary, there is genocide against the poor, because almost all those who are killed are poor people, except maybe military men.
Let me take you on that. In the elements you mentioned about genocide, what the genocide is all about, you mentioned state-sponsored. In a state like Plateau and Benue, where the governments in place are dominated by Christians.
Yes.
In Benue and Plateau, would you say that the government there, which are dominated by Christians, are also complicit in what is happening? And also, somebody made the remark that in a situation where you have the entire, or rather preponderant, heads of security outfits in Nigeria are Christians, how can that qualify to be genocide when these people are in position to actually prevent what is happening? Or are you saying that these people are also complicit in the killing of Christians as well as Muslims?
No, you see, you don't need to look at the roles of major actors like those in government and in security services. Those in government and security services do not have religion. No, they don't.
Really?
No, they don't. Tinubu and Akpabio and the National Assembly members, their religion is their interest.
You see them in churches?
No. They are doing that because they want to deceive the poor. Have you ever heard them quarreling about sharing of Nigerian money? No. When 500 billion was led by Buhari and Tinubu was sharing, do you hear any quarrel among them? No. It was only El Rufai's son who disagreed with them and shouted that, no, I'm not going to take this, people are suffering. But they all collected it. In fact, on one of the occasions, Akpabio was sending money to them, the mic was on and said, hey, now you're going to go on vacation, you're going to get something in your account. Then he realized, no, I'm sending email to you. Please, anybody, whether it's in the military, is police, they don't have religion. Their language, ethnicity, tribe is common interest, Nigerian money.
So in this case then,
so don't look at the conspiracy. The conspiracy is an holistic conspiracy against the people. So whether a governor is running a state like Christians, where like is Christian, where all the people in government are Christians, yet they are killing Christians. In Benue, the same thing. Now the governor of Benue, who was singing, genocide against Christians. Now, suddenly, when they wore this 2027 cap with a rim on his head, he came back 2 days ago and said, there is no any genocide going in Benue. There's no any genocide. The same man who was shouting. So you can see the hypocrisy of the elite. Don't call any religion among them. They go to mosque, they go to church because they want to deceive the poor, but they have no religion. Don't you see how they go to wedding? If one of them is a Muslim and is giving out the children, if you see the gathering of those of them who go to church there, you'll be surprised. You will not even know that it was an Islamic it's an Islamic wedding. So also, did you see how they gather at the burial of the national chairman of APC in Jos? Were you able to distinguish between Muslim and Christian? So please don't all join in misleading Nigerians. The elites are a complete community.
So now we are in a situation where we are facing threat from a superpower that says it is coming here to liberate, to stop the killing of Christians. And we have a government, from what you've said, that seems to be, not caring about the plight of the people, and it's just going on carrying on as usual. The people of this country are caught in the middle. How do we get out of this?
You see, Nigerians need to understand the legal framework upon which Trump is making those statements. I've listened to scholars, and they have been misleading Nigerians. Under international law, there are about 3 ways with which a nation state can intervene in the affairs of another nation state. 1, through the United Nations resolution. If the issues are crimes against humanity, violation of human rights, a nation state can move a motion, a resolution at the United Nations, and if you get the approval of the United Nations, it can interfere or intervene.
Just like we had it in Iraq.
In Iraq, they didn't even get it. They got it under the second reason. Now, the second reason, the second principle is the principle of unwilling and undue influence. When a nation state is unwilling to punish crime and criminals, is unwilling to deal with grave violations of crime against humanity, then another nation state can also, on the basis of this very principle of unwilling, intervene in order to save humanity. The last principle is a customary principle of international law. And the principle is what America used to intervene in Iraq. Like in Nigeria, Boko Haram in 2013 declared affiliation with ISIL in Iraq and Syria, and also Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. By that declaration, Boko Haram has scaled up its status to an international terrorist network. Now, this customary principle of international law provides that if the interest of a nation state is threatened by the activities of terrorist elements within the territory of another nation state, that nation state is free to take action to protect its own interest. So since Boko Haram is an affiliate of ISIL, Boko Haram is an ISWAP, an international terrorist network. They are a threat to the interest of America anywhere in the world, whether within Nigeria or outside Nigeria. So American interest in Nigeria is already threatened by that affiliation.
But then I'll take you on to what a congressman in America, Scott Perry from Pennsylvania, sometime this year, he made allegations that in their investigations into the activities of USAID, the United States Agency of International Development, they found that that agency of American government was actually funneling funds to Boko Haram and other terrorist organizations. So don't you think that America itself is a culprit in this thing, in this whole conundrum of, terrorism and sponsorship of terrorism and all that? Can't we put everything on the table and allocate problems, allocate blames where they're supposed to, and let's solve them on that basis?
Trump is not coming because he is a saint of terrorism. America, the state of America, is guilty of terrorism. In so many countries of the world, they have annexed, they've gone to Grenada and overthrew a government there, arrested the president. They have gone to Panama. They've invaded Iraq, killed a president there, installed a government and that is pro-terrorism. They've gone to Libya. They've gone to Afghanistan. Even they are in Sudan through proxy. So America is not saying, oh, I am a saint. There are activities in Gaza which 190-something countries of the world had voted against. It's terrorism. But what Donald Trump is saying is that if I am the global terrorist boss, I will not allow you to be a regional terrorist boss. That is what Trump is saying. But he's not saying that he's an angel. He's telling Tinubu that you are trying to emulate what I am doing, and I will not allow you.
Okay, well, let's look at the political firmament in Nigeria. Recently, there were fisticuffs at the PDP headquarters involving two factions of the same party. And then also, I don't know whether you are a member of that party, ADC, opened up its new headquarters in Abuja. So, and then it's beginning to look as if the political, firmament is warming up. And I believe you are going to be one of those people. Can you tell us, give us, your own perspective on this? Are we going to really have a rough ride to 2027, or are we really going to have it, at the end of the day, we're going to resolve it as usual in the Nigerian sense?
Look, I'm a revolutionary Democrat and an activist. An activist actually set the tune of opposition in Nigeria. We will start criticizing the government. And when it gains momentum, politicians will now form association and take over from there. I started the campaign against Jonathan government in 2009 when he was coronated by the National Assembly as acting president. And I said it was an affront on the Constitution. And from that day, I continued criticizing the government. When it started gathering momentum, politicians started migrating from all over. They congregated, and then they formed Save Nigeria first. And the Save Nigeria was the very organization that that wrote the letter and invited Trump. Trump is coming at that invitation. Let us not deceive ourselves. They wrote as non-state actors. Buhari, Tinubu, Tunde Bakare, Femi Falana, Wole Soyinka. All these were members of the group that invited Trump to come and serve Christians under Jonathan, because they were killing Christians. They were throwing bombs in churches, left, right, and center. Now, Obama wanted to interfere by the invitation. He couldn't do it. He left the letter. Trump came in. Trump saw the letter. Trump approved the letter. But Buhari went to US, and immediately Trump saw him. The first question, why are you killing Christians in Nigeria? Buhari negotiated, which led to the partnership between US and Nigeria that we are going to deal with terrorism, which has to do with funding and the provision of military hardware, drones, training.
Okay,
all these things.
We seem to be having,
yes,
time constraints, but I just want to use this little time to ask you two questions. One, recently the National Security Advisor was in Washington to try to discuss on this issue, and also the issue of the conviction of Nnamdi Kanu. Don't you think, especially the case of Nnamdi Kanu, don't you think this will set the stage for more political instability as we move to 2027? I
will answer just them like a lawyer's answer. The PDP crisis is self-inflicted by a member of PDP who is also an APC member. The essence of what the crisis in PDP is that President Tinubu does not want to contest election with any solid candidate or a weak one. So that's why you see what is going on. That's why they are at all costs trying to destroy PDP. Back to the conviction of Nnamdi Kanu. The conviction of Nnamdi Kanu by the court in Abuja, the judge has convicted him and has given his reasons for conviction. The matter from the position of Nnamdi Kanu is going to be appealed against. So we wait for the Court of Appeal and hear what it is. The visit of Nuhu Ribadu to Washington is just for them to amass extra court. But it was a wasted trip that no any sound and sane country will embark on such diplomatic approach.
Thank you very much. Barrister Solomon Dalung, it's our pleasure to have you on this platform. We appreciate your coming here, despite your very, very engaging activities. And viewers, that's a wrap-up on this week's edition of Sunday Politics. On behalf of the team, I'm Iliyasu Gadu. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in.